Happy Halloween, everyone. Switch down here. This time, I have four scary Halloween stories for all of you to listen. All of them are fictional. So, hope you enjoy them. As always, Happy Halloween! Halloween has always had a big part of my life, especially when I was a kid, when I was trick or treat, and even when I was growing up, be able to watch the horror movies like Terror of Old Elm Street, Halloween, and many more. It's just one of my favorite holidays. My name is Denise. There is only one time of Halloween when that was pretty bad and scary to me. I mean, it was pretty terrifying. It all happened back some years ago when I was about 20 years old. I'm about slight older now, but it actually happened at this Halloween party that my best friend Sally and her boyfriend Mark had invited me and my then boyfriend, now husband Jason. Both of us hadn't any particular plans for Halloween, so we were actually happy. So we went there. There were about 20 people total at the party. There was a lot of food, drinks. It was actually decent, and we did know pretty much all the people there. Though there was one guy that we I didn't know, and his name was Peter, and he introduced me to me and Jason. It turned out he was an acquaintance to Mark, and I was like, okay, no problem. And we started enjoying the party, like drinking, some of that, enjoying some food, and small talk to other people. Just, frankly, had just a good time, to be speaking. But it wasn't until like 9 p.m. when I was actually up by myself. I was just having a drink, and Peter got up to me, while small talking, and I can already tell he was drunk. And he started to flirt with me, which made me feeling uncomfortable right away. I told him to stop, but he somehow didn't even listen. Either that he was too drunk or even pay attention to that. I once again tried to saying to him to stop, but he didn't listen. So I tried to leave, but he follows after me, tried to talk to me, but I just ignored him, which made him angry. And I was getting more scared. People around me saw this all happen, but it was then when Jason somehow stepped in and he literally stepped in front of me, told Peter, like, hey dude, is not interested in you. Just leave her alone. But that made Peter even more furious apparently. He even told Jason to just leave my girlfriend alone, which is a frankly was a big lie. But then, out of the blue, even Mark showed up and told Peter to leave me alone, and or that he will have to leave or they had to kick him out. But he didn't even listen, which led to a fight, but it was quickly over. So both Mark and Jason grabbed him and kicked him out, and he just left. And Mark apologized to me because he knew that Peter were had some problems when he was getting wasted. He had hoped and even had told Peter just don't drink too much and cause problem, which he had promised, but apparently he didn't listen. And he thought free booze meant that he can drink as much as he wanted and get so wasted. He later informed Jason and me that he had stopped contact with that Peter guy. That was the only time that was frankly let me out on this Halloween. But ever since then, I had a good time. Thank you all for listening. My name is Carlos. Halloween has always been a big part of my life, especially while growing up with Trick or Treat and later being able to watch horror movies. By the time of the story, I was about 18 when this all happened. Now, I am in my late 20s. But this is not a story about just about me, but it was a pretty terrifying. You may understand why. At the time of this particular story happened, me and my girlfriend Sally, well, I actually had invited her over to watch some movies since I didn't have any other particular plan. But then my parents told me on the day on Halloween, just during the afternoon, that if they even asked me if I could take up my cousin Nikki, who was about 11 at the time, out for trick or treat. Since they couldn't do it themselves and her parents was actually at work, so they didn't have anyone else to let her go for trick or treat, and they wouldn't even let her go by herself. And since I adore her very much, I seeing her as my youngest sister. So I said yes, why not? And Sally had no problem with it, since she did go trick or treat with her younger brother the year before. So on the Halloween, on that evening or late afternoon, we went out for trick or treat. Nikki was dressed as a pirate, which was surprising enough. I was expecting maybe a princess or a fairy, but a pirate? I mean, it was pretty cool though. I mean, she was pretty much a big fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which I don't think is a bad choice. But she did get a lot of candy. We did first walk around in my neighborhood. Then we went to different blocks, and she actually had a lot of candy. But when we were just walking around, I did notice this clown in a distance. He was just following us very far distant. But I just told them to Sally and Nikki just to be careful because they had noticed him. But I mean, there was probably just someone that for going to a party, and which was this party was located this way. So I didn't pay much attention to it. So we continued our trick or treat, and after a while, she actually had her bag full and was getting late. Now is the time it happened. It was less than doors that open. So we decided to head back home to enjoy the rest of the Halloween. Even on our way back home, we were just small talking about Halloween, what type of movies we are gonna watch. At the time, I did notice the clown was somehow once again behind us, but in a short distance. I mean, at first I just ignored it, but as we're getting closer to my house, the clown was still back behind us, and I had enough. I just stopped, turned around, and looked at the clown. It's like, hey man, this isn't funny anymore. Can you please just leave us alone? We are heading home. Trick or treat is over. This isn't funny at all, I told him firmly. The clown only laying his head to his right like he'd been confused, but then, in a blink of an eye, he pulled out this big knife and started running toward us. And based on the glint from the street light above us and from the knife, I can tell right away it wasn't like a plastic toy knife. This was a freaking actual knife. I lost it. Nikki and Sally, they were so scared, so I just ran up, grabbed Nikki, and picked her up, and we all took off fast running as fast as we could. We were getting closer to my house, but this freaking clown was still behind us. And he was like, stop, I'ma cut you like a pig. Come here, little piggy. I was freaking out, and even Nikki could hear all this clearly. She was crying and crying. Even I can even hear that Sally was freaking out. Even she was started crying. We managed to get to my house just in time. I was pretty much only the last one behind them. Both Sally and Nikki managed to run into the house, but the clown attacked me from behind. But I managed to stop him from doing any particular big bad words attack. The clown managed to slice in my right arm, which wasn't a very deep cut though, but he tried to stab me like, I'm gonna cut you like a piggy. He screamed and laughing like a complete maniac. But I managed to stop him from even stabbing me, and I used one of my arms and punched right in his head, which made him fall over and drop the knife, and I managed to grab both of his arms and pin him down to the ground. And when this all happened, Sally had called for police, and they later showed up and arrested him. Turned out this guy was in his 30s, and he was high on some drugs. And it seems that it was not his first time he'd done this. But this time, very likely would end up behind bars for quite a while, since, well, I don't want even to know what happened. And, well, Nikki's family was very happy that I was there to save them, or at least save her. But they were happy that they didn't allow her to go by herself for trick or treat. Because if she had, there's no way to say what happened. Because if she had run into the clown, yeah, let's say that is one thing I don't want even to think about. Be honest though, they were actually happy that I saved their daughter, and even my family praised me so much for that. Even Sally's family was also happy that I protected her also. And even though Nikki did have some nightmares of this for a while after, but the year after, when from the next year's Halloween, we did went on Halloween, me, Nikki, and Sally. But that time, and ever since, there were no problem. To that man who tried to hurt me, and and perhaps even Sally and Nikki, you had to stay behind bars for the rest of your life. Otherwise, I will always try to protect them even again. Every year, I'm always looking forward to Halloween. Ever since I was a kid, I very much look forward to trick or treat. But as I was getting older, I started to realize I cannot be doing that all my life. So after I finished high school and now in my 20s, I started to actually enjoy Halloween a different way. Either being invited to parties or even had a party of my own. But this particular story happened that me and my girlfriend Amber was invited to my best friend Luke's Halloween party. We were actually invited since why not? And when we showed up at Luke's house, there were about 15 people total. He had prepared a lot of food, snacks, some drinks, and we actually had a pretty good time. We, in fact, knew pretty much almost half of the people there. So the other half was like more acquaintance that we fairly knew well. But it was not about that though. But the party was going quite well when I was actually introduced to this older guy named Tony by Luke. It turned out they were colleagues, and he was slightly older. He was actually 24, and I was about 22, so he about 2 years older. But at the party, I was just talking to Luke while Amber was mingled around by the guests, just having a good time. Tony was actually talking to her a lot, while more like 30 to her, which she didn't like. She tried to leave, but he was insisting to continue to talk to her. She tried to be polite, but it didn't even work. And he tried to insist to talk some more. Well, and eventually she managed to get away from him. And I did find her and even asked how she was handling the party so far. She said that she had a good time, but she never mentioned about Tony's approach. I wish that she did, because if she had, I would have told Luke about it and we would have had to talk to him. But unfortunately, that didn't happen though. But later, as the party went on, I think this was around 10 p.m. or something like that, the party lasted to around midnight. But he started getting a bit more drunk at the time. And when he did approach her once again, she felt scared. But she was saved, but not me, but by Luke. Luke saw it all happen across the room, and he quickly walked over and he told Tony to leave because he was getting too drunk and he was bothering Amber. But Tony told Luke, like, body lines of, mind your own business. I'm talking to her, so I am free to talk to anyone I want to. But Luke told him firmly that he was making her feeling uncomfortable and she was already taken. But that made his furious to reach a new whole level. And as of the time he also said him to leave, Tony punched Luke right in the face. And what had happened, just shortly after it happened, several other people rushed towards Tony and pinned him down on the floor and kept him down until the police arrived and took him away. Luke told me that he was apologizing for what happened, but I told him, dude, you're my friend and you have nothing to do with this. You're cool. You saved her, so I'm very much appreciated that and I'm very grateful for that. Amber thanked him as well, and a few days after Halloween, I got a call from Luke, who told me that Tony had been fired from work and that we didn't have to be worried about him anymore. Well, that's good to think to be last though, and even Amber was a bit scared afterwards, but now she's safe. Thanks for that. And also Tony, let us never, never meet again. I have a lot of good memories when it comes to Halloween, with trick or treat, partying at the school with some friends, but there's only one memory of that Halloween that I wished that didn't happen. My name is Violet. When this all happened, I was about 21, now in my late 20s. Like I said, I have liked Halloween for a long time, but this is the only time I really wish that I didn't have to go through it. I have heard of people been experiencing some terrifying moments during Halloween. I had never wished or even thought that I would be one of them, but it did. Anyways, for Halloween that particular year, me and my boyfriend Frank, also same age, and my best friend Jennifer, yeah, we actually did went three of us to on Halloween together from time to time. But this year we decided to go this corner maze before going home to watch some horror movies together. We actually had a good time. When we arrived, there were at least about a handful of people that was already there. Some others had ordered but wanted to leave. So we thought it would be fun, so we walked in separately. But I had to say this maze, at least from the distance, looked a bit big, but it was quite decent size still. But shortly after I got in, I got lost. When it comes to like this type of things, I have no sense of direction at all. And to be honest, I even are in fact sometimes bad with giving directions as well. You see. So after a while, I actually thought I will even be lost there forever. But then I ran into this older guy. I think he was could have been in his late 20s, dressed as Pennywise. I was like, wait, what was it? Pennywise doing here? But then I remember there were a sign by the entrance that saying they had some actors hiding somewhere in the maze to scare people, to give them a little bit more scary feelings, make it even better. So I was like, first I was scared, but then I realized he must be one of the actors that was on the sign mentioned. So I asked him if he could help me get out. He didn't say anything, but he just nodded and he made his and waved with his hand to follow him. So I just did that. I followed after him. Then we actually came out in an exit, or at least an opening. And as we were at that, I realized we were near the forest, or at least the tree line. But Pennywise the clown just kept walking. I stopped because it was then it hit me. The entrance to the maze was also the exit. So why would this clown or this Pennywise took me to a whole different direction? I realized this wasn't even one of the workers, or at least one of the actors. It was just someone pretending. So I quickly turned around and walked back in. The guy, who was probably like halfway to the tree line, saw this and called out to me, now with his actual voice, to follow him, that he was going in the right way, but I didn't even listen. I just kept walking. Then I heard him running after me, and he was calling me that I was going the wrong way, that he was going to want to show me something before going to take me back. That was something that was part of this whole attraction, apparently. But I didn't even listen. I kept running faster myself. The guy was following after me. But after a short while, I actually managed to get to the entrance, and the guy wasn't even following me anymore. And at this point, I don't even know where or when he stopped following me. It may be that maybe it's just halfway. When I was by the entrance, I did notice that Frank and Jennifer was over there. They saw I was terrified. They didn't ask me what happened, and long story short, one of the staff actually called for police, and they talked to me, and I gave a statement of what happened. They even went in the maze, looked around, and even went to the tree line and in a bit of the forest, but they didn't find nothing. The guy who's pretending to be a Pennywise or pretending to be a part of the staff, he was long gone. And I was told that he was not even been found. And I was also told that I shouldn't give my hopes up, or my hopes that they will find him. And it has been a few years since. And, well, and as far as I can tell, he has never been found or even returned. So, and after all that, Frank gave me a hug and we went home to watch some movies. And that was the last time I went on a corner maze for Halloween. I really hope that everyone had a good time to listen to this 4 terrifying Halloween stories. And as always, I really hope that everyone had a good time for Halloween. Halloween is always the most terrifying time of year, with monsters like ghouls, vampires, werewolves were coming out, and they're all friend of mine. Happy Halloween, everyone.